Do you want more success, more growth, more results? Then it's time for the Boundless Success Accelerator from the Modern Observer Group. This isn't your average coaching program. It's where top performers come to dominate. Weekly group sessions, on-demand coaching, a community that's got your back, and a power-packed library of tools to supercharge your business and career. No more excuses, no more waiting. Get in, level up, and start building the life you've been dreaming about. Visit us at modernobserver.com/boundlesssuccess to join today. Let's get you to the next level.
We're lighting the candle, a world that works, and I'm Bill Correll. I'm here with my twin and compatriot Jan Jeremias, who I love dearly, and I tell you that with a tongue in cheek because I'm 6'4" and weigh 250 pounds. And Jan, what are you, about 5'2" and maybe less than half of that?
Yeah, quite a lot less than that.
The neat part of that is we kind of have a yin and yang, relationship with each other, and as a result of that, it works pretty well. We are excited as can be because we're representing a couple of different hemispheres here tonight, and we've got from. I'm going to introduce the furthest away first, Taryn Victor, who is coming to us from South Africa, I believe. Welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Paul, for having me, Jan, Mary Jane. I'm all the way from beautiful, sunny Johannesburg, South Africa.
Beautiful. I've got family by proxy in Johannesburg. And then not last and least, but really great from neighbor Toronto, Canada, Mary Jane McQueen, who I'm meeting both of these ladies from other countries today for the first time. And I mean, that's daring on your part. And I wish you good luck with that. I think it's going to work out okay, but you can see I'm recovering. So I the other guy had a knife. That's all I can say. A trip to the dermatologist, and it went very, very well, and he did a great job and everything. But my point is this: those of you who listen to us, you know that we're here to do two things. That's number one, just to have a great conversation, and number two, maybe give you some tools or an access, to empowerment in those situations where you're feeling a little jammed up and stopped, and by golly, you don't want to feel that way. So what would you do, right? That sort of thing. So I think with that in mind, and given that we've got an international flair, we don't want to have an international incident, but we definitely can have some international fun. That's for sure. So with that said, I would like to just toss out for everyone. How is it that all of us speak the same language, but we don't all necessarily understand the same things?
That's a deep question.
It is. I'm like, wow, that stopped me in my tracks.
And we only have an hour, so.
Well, Bill, I can start.
Yeah.
If that'll help. So I think that happens, or believe that happens, because we each come with our own story and our own experiences, and we've interpreted language and information accordingly. So, I was just having this conversation with someone recently, and we were talking about certain words, like he was talking about a word that really doesn't resonate with him, that kind of actually rubs him the wrong way. And it wasn't any sort of word that really had any profound meaning. Like it wasn't a word that was loaded. Okay. And it was just really interesting to kind of see his reaction about that.
Yeah.
And he said, I know it's coming from my personal circumstances or from something that happened to me. And so I think that that's how we come upon like situations or stories that we hear and our reaction to them,
Yeah.
because we're reacting with our whole the whole history that we have versus just that one experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Taryn, what do you think about language and international issues that may get in the way of people actually communicating using the same words?
You know, we like English is a universal language. Most of the people can speak English. But I think from an international point of view, it's how we interpret it.
Yeah.
And when how we interpret it also depends on how we were raised and with what with how we were raised, the environments that we were raised, what we were taught, what we were taught, maybe not being open-minded, maybe interpreting what somebody might say in English in one part of the world and how I might say something in English here, and also your tone and your expression. So if we're having a conversation, but your tone is completely not used to how I'm used to it, or your accent is a bit different, then intend of listening with sympathetic ears,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what you are going through or emotionally, how you are emotionally, that could be interpreted completely different to what actually the intention is. So I think with regards to the meaning across international borders, even though we speak the same language, I think it's interpretation depending on your upbringing, and also the understanding of we might speak the same language, but we were all raised different environments, and we interpret it, which means that there needs to be more education and more openness for more discussions.
Yep. Well, I like that, and I know that we probably have very heavy American accents to you. You know, 3 out of 4 of us are Americans, and not from the U.S., but from this continent. You know, and I think that the really neat part of what you're saying is that those conditions are not things that we got to vote on. We just arrived to where we are today through the happenstance of whatever's been going on, you know, since we were born. And Mary Jane, how about you? Do you think that this is an international kind of a thing, or would you say that even in Canada, not everybody understands what everybody's saying all the time?
Well, it's really funny because in Canada we have two really official languages, right? French and English. So sometimes we don't always understand, but but no, I think it's true. It's a little bit, I think, of what Tara was saying and what Jan was speaking to as well. I mean, we all come to this point today from different journeys and different stories and traumas and different things that have affected us in our lifetimes, and what our experiences brings that thing brings us to that same point where we're kind of like, I don't quite understand what you're saying. But I mean, really, if Tara was sort of alluding to it, it was like if we actually take time to listen attentively, to listen to what people are actually saying, not just the words but the feeling
Right.
behind what they're saying. um I think we have a better understanding overall. This is, but thank you for not pointing out that I have a Canadian accent, because most people say I have a Canadian accent, so I'm not quite sure what that is, but okay.
It's not heavy, or my ears been trained to hear no accent. It's a great accent. All of you, I especially like Jan's Jewish accent. You know, I mean,
You
all
speak
we
Jewish.
know. Yeah,
And I don't think I have a Jewish accent, but thank you. And
I don't think you do either, but you know, not compared to some of the people we met down in Harlem a month or two ago.
no, no. And I'm laughing because the other day, Mary Jane and I were on, I guess it might have been on Saturday, and we were talking about Yiddish. And I was saying
Yes.
Yiddish is a great language because the words sound like what they mean.
Yeah,
Like, and I love languages like that, where like the word actually sounds like what if you were to translate it, like what the meaning is.
for good reason. You know,
That's
I
right.
mean, they've been
Exactly.
working on it for 5,000 years, so I mean, they've got it pretty well perfected at this point, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, see, the interesting thing is too, while I'm listening to you, all 3 of you wonderful ladies, I find personally in a situation where there's a group and someone has a distinct accent, people will listen more carefully until they know that person fairly well, and then they get treated like anybody else in the room. which is barely listen to anything they have to say at all and wait for your turn to to come out with your great idea. But it just kind of like it's there for me at the moment that if we worked hard at listening through the accent of what we know about that person, what we believe about that person, what that we assume. And it's like when you walk into a room with some people, you already know the first 5 words that are going to come out of their mouth before they speak. How do we do that? And then we're right about it, which makes us even worse listeners, there are there are people you don't want to hear speak, and there are people that, God, I would drive 3 hours, just to listen to them read the phone book, or something like that. And how does that happen? And how do we kind of light people up a little bit and give them that kind of interest in the questioning of what is it about the other people that you're around that's really important to find out? So I think everybody's got a very specific, special message only your DNA can deliver.
Um, I think when you enter a room, I think for me it boils down to morals and values. When you enter a room, you can feel, no matter, even if it's online, you can really feel the space of whether it's warm and inviting or whether it's cold. And I would say what I do is I have no expectations. I'm coming into this room with an open mind and I'm looking forward to meeting a whole bunch of people. Because the minute you have expectations, and you start making assumptions, then already you're going to be let down because that person is either going to not exceed your expectation or be the complete opposite. I love building relationships. So when I walk into a room, whether in person and online space, I absolutely just think to myself, I cannot wait. If it's, for example, if it's no one for the first time, Bill, like it's the first time I'm meeting you, Mary Jane, it was the first time I met her face to face on Saturday. I just knew that if this was a space that I was meant to be in, that I was aligned to, these are the people that I was meant to speak to. And I just had an open heart and an open mind and just take people accept them for who they are first time and get to know them before anything else. Have that conversation. Then you can pick up when you are going to have a good conversation with someone or you're just going to introduce and move on. So that's how I've kind of learned over time how to do it. Just have an open heart and an open mind. And those who are meant that you have that warm conversation with, obviously you'll build the relationship business wise or further. But I don't think you can actually preconceive what type of room it's going to be unless you know already the environment that you're going to enter into.
So, when you were invited to come on this podcast, what were the first thoughts, if you can recall? What were the first couple of things that you thought about? Because my twin she's hard to turn down, first of all, and second of all, she's just so much fun. I can't think of a single person on the face of the planet that doesn't love her.
So I love Jan to bits. Jan is the most beautiful, kind person I know, and Mary Jane as well, two of the most biggest hearts ever. And Jan and I align on beautiful ways. We resonate in so many ways. So when she said hi, invited me, said, "Would you like to come and chat?" One, she knows how much I love storytelling. Two, she already knows my personality and is able to read my personality. So my first thoughts were, wow, what an honor. This is a privilege that you're inviting me into your space, your beautiful space, to come and share a conversation. And I was like, well, I cannot wait to meet Bill. I cannot wait to do this because Jan intentionally invited me here. There's a reason she invited me. And I was like, I'm so excited, but now I need to prepare. What are we going to talk about?
Of course you do. That's what thinking people do, right? It's
And
going to
I
be
wanted to be
spontaneous and
prepared.
genuine. Okay, let me study up a little bit here. Mary Jane, how about you?
Yeah, it's interesting because I had a very similar feeling. Well, obviously, Jen and I collaborate a lot, so I already know what she brings. And when it's kind of like what Taryn was mentioning when she said, "Hey, do you want to join us for the conversation?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I have an appointment, but I'll just reschedule it. It's okay."
Oh,
So there you go. I was motivated because I knew if Jan was asking, there was a really good reason why she was asking for that. So
Yeah.
and I was excited because I thought, oh, this is lovely just to have a conversation. I love that interaction, that relationship building with people, just learning a little bit more about who and what they're about. I find people fascinating.
Yeah.
I agree. It's kind of a hobby for me. I just want to say one more thing. What I heard in both of you, and not necessarily what you said, but maybe what you didn't say was if Jan's inviting me, it's going to be worthwhile. And maybe this Bill Correll guy will be okay.
You're more than okay, Bill, but yeah,
More than okay.
you're average.
Yeah.
Say some more. Say some more. I love being average.
I love you. Well, it was interesting when Taryn was speaking. First of all, thank you both, and thank
Yeah.
you, Bill. But first, when Taryn was speaking, I thought, I always go in with this kind of openness that this person has something to teach me. Like I can learn something from this person, from something that has happened to them, for the way they speak, from something like that. And so I kind of take on this kind of aspect, or just this feeling of like, I don't want to go in with judgment. Like that's and that's maybe at one point who I was, and I've kind of evolved past that. So I don't want to go in with any judgment or ideas about this person. And I think that that tends to make a little bit more sense, because I look at it as like, oh, okay, this person has their whole life experience. And I'm sure throughout these like however long they've been on this planet, they have wisdom they've gained. And to me, wisdom is that's that experiential knowledge that doesn't have anything to do, well, yes, it can be book knowledge, but to me, I'm looking for wisdom, or that, versus, facts, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's not anything, but maybe it's just a phrase they use, or something. Like they'll say something and it'll make me smile, or I love this, the fact, I love the way they phrase that. And so it doesn't have to be anything bigger than that, or it can be something bigger than that.
Yeah.
But I think that I look at it as an opportunity versus, I want to say, almost going in with a battle, or with this idea of like, where I'm on the defensive, like, and so, which never creates a really, because then you're not open to anything, because you're, this whole idea of I'm going to put on the armor and I'm going in with like swords flaring, like kind of thing, or however you want to think about it.
Yeah. I'm assuming we're all in the people business, right?
Yeah.
Interacting with people, all four of us do that kind of, we talk to people for a living sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
How is that for you? Is that something that you started off being a kind of a natural action, or is it something you've had to train yourself to do? I know at one point I had to learn how to notice when I was going away in the conversation, go, Bill, you need to come back now and refocus, and, nothing more to be said about it. Cause I got pretty damn good at, for a while, of being able to repeat long diatribes that people said while I was planning what I was going to buy at BJ's, or something like that. And that's not really there. That's not the being present and enjoying the moment and building a relationship that's genuine. So it was hard for me at the beginning, believe it or not.
Well, from my experience, if I can take it back to 2018. So I'm an introvert. Introverts, that's me. I'm introvert at heart. But if we go back to 2018, and a company I was previously working at, and they were like, please, you need to call this person and ask them for this and this and this and this. I'm like, can I just email them? No, just call them. I was like, you want me to call them and ask them this? Why can't I just email them? Like, can't I just email? Like I would speak to people that I know confidently, but those that I was meeting for the first time, especially because it was like a sales call, you want me to pick up the phone and speak to a complete stranger and ask them for some quotes. I freaked out. I completely freaked out. So from that point of view, or point in time, it's actually been a skill that I had to learn. I needed to, like a muscle, I needed to get into practice. So the more I network, the more I put myself around people, trust, like the more I got out to people, and the more I met people who had the same morals and values like I have, or accepted me for who I was and allowed me to just be. And the more conversations I had, and the more I realized that, okay, you can have conversations, and especially in the business world. And I grew more and more and more from that. And I can say that my skin got thicker because I got more confident, and slowly but surely got more confident in myself. And it, as I opened up more and saw how people received me and didn't judge me, story for another day, received me for who I was, the more confident I got, the more open I got, and the more I realized that just be open to speaking to anyone, don't have preconceived notions. And so it's taken me since that phone call until now in 2024 to be speaking to you so openly and excitedly. Oh my gosh, I'm going to see Mary Jane and Bill and have a beautiful conversation while you are opposite all the way on the other side of the world. But I can confidently be myself because I know that this is a safe space, because I was invited by a person I can trust.
Excellent. Yeah, and what I hear you saying is that at some point it started to just dawn on you that all that time that you were getting upset over what you were hearing had nothing to do with what they were saying. It was what you were hearing the voice in your head saying about what they were saying, you know? And when you can differentiate and distinguish between those two things, gee whiz, you can stop thinking about BJ's and come on back to the conversation and see if you can learn something or maybe make a better friend, you know? I love that. I really do. Congratulations on making that choice for yourself. I know the world's a better place because you did. I
Thank
just
you.
know that.
Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
I just,
Thank you.
Mary Jane.
Mary Jane, go ahead.
We're like looking at each other. You speak. No, you speak.
Yeah, I know.
Telepathy.
All right. We're not going to have any quiet conspiracies going on here, you know?
Oh,
Give
you
us,
didn't know that we had like a,
give us
It's
the
telepathy.
411. Yeah.
Synchronicity is like, Jan, you
yes.
know, it's your turn.
Well, if you want, we can take 5 minutes of silence and just telepathically communicate with each other for a while and see if the folks at home get it.
Oh gosh.
Yes, exactly. No, I relate to what Taryn was saying. Like, I mean, for the longest part of my life, I was an introvert for sure. I was more the listener than the talker. But I think that that was actually a really good skill to learn and to take in, because when you sit back and you're not front and center all the time, it's amazing the things that you can learn and discover about other people. And I don't mean that in a negative sense, but really lean into understanding kind of where that person is coming from. And yeah, I mean, through my career, as I moved up in my corporate career, as I moved up through the ranks, and I had to do more and more meetings and things because I became like the art and production director. So I I had to really hone in on my skills. So now I would say that I'm more an ambivert than an introvert, because I can function in both worlds. So I'm able to take in with attentive listening, but I'm also able to, once I've sort of taken that in, be able to put back out something that I feel that is of value. And the last few years, just for me, because I was restructured out of my job at the end of 2019, and I had to kind of figure out where I was orienting my life, and just doing the self-development kind of work, and working through some of those things, and feeling out some of the traumas that might have led me to where I am today. I just think really it has been beneficial to me. So I just, and relationship building, as Taryn was sort of mentioning, is that's the key. So it's like, say yes when you trust the person that's inviting you. So
Yeah. You'll get over the risk in usually 4 or 5 seconds, you know?
mhm.
The other thing that I love that both of you are saying, and that you have to, and Mary Jane, you are a physical active listener, which I think is great because you and I know that we have to cheer for people in our minds. Keep coming with the good stuff. Yeah, don't worry about the words, just get it out here so we can play with it a little bit and have some fun. And I think that that's a skill that most people don't see the value in, first of all, and they're maybe not even aware that we have a responsibility in a conversation not to say something that sounds great, to other people and walk away, but maybe to make a difference in the world by what we're talking about. And what if we approach conversations from that standpoint? It can be fun to make a difference in the world, so we should do that.
Hmm. I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, I thought you were going to say something, Bill. So I
I
wait.
was, but I thought you were going to say something too. So
No, I mean, I
The
was
lines,
waiting.
lines are
Lights.
blurred there.
Yeah. So okay. So I can go. So definitely was something I learned, and I'm still learning. I think it is an ongoing process. I'm still practicing, and I do have points depending on, let's say, how tired I am or whatever, where I do vacate during a conversation. But I think I've also gotten better at saying to people, "I'm sorry, I missed that." Like, where years ago I kind of just would have let it go and kind of half listened. And now I'm a little bit more forward and saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got distracted for a moment. Can you repeat that?" Or, "I'm sorry, I missed that. I really feel it was important." So I've gotten better at doing that. But coming from my science background, I was an introvert, and I chose my original career as a scientist was very introvert like. I was really good at giving lectures and speaking at conferences, but I spent 99% of my time, dealing with, dealing with samples of, patients or clients, and so you don't need to talk to anybody. You spend 8 hours, 10 hours in a lab, like, you don't talk to anybody all day sometimes. And then I went out into the world and I thought to myself, "Oh my gosh, I've really got to talk to people." you know,
turns
it
out
was,
they give you money for doing that. Yeah.
yeah, and it was such a shock. It was like, and it was a shock on so many levels. It was a shock in that I had to do it. And it was a shock of like, "Oh my gosh, what did I do?" like, and and then placing myself in situations, like, especially now over the past, I want to say 3 or 4 years, where when I moved, and then all of a sudden it was a whole other sort of realm of that, because all of a sudden I left, my support system, so to speak, which were my really good friends, and relocated and had to again think to myself, "Oh my gosh, I've got to talk to people if I want to make friends," you know, kind of thing.
That sure wasn't my problem. Um, I I'm the eldest of six kids, so we always had mayhem. Our house was always filled with all the neighborhood kids. By the time I was in third grade, we had lived in 9 different houses, from Denver, Colorado to Topeka, Kansas, back to Denver again, Cheyenne, Wyoming, Plattsburgh, New York, and finally in third grade settled in Gales Ferry, Ledyard, Connecticut. And I got really good at making fast friends, like immediately friends with people up to a point. And then I'd forget, what I used to say to everybody all the time. And, I was kind of like this really outgoing guy that ran out of script. And then I had to start generating some different chops. So then it was around sports, or it was around movies, or the whole notion of being with people and knowing that we're not going to be making new friends 2 or 3 months from now every single year. That was cool. So when we put down roots, we lived in Ledyard, graduated from high school there, went away to college. I'm still in touch with most of my classmates that are still alive at this point, and that's just wonderful. When we get together, we talk about our lives, and there's nobody who's interested in how much money anybody else is making, or you know we're consoling each other for a loss that we're aware of, or we're cheering people on when they're going into a new venture. One of the gals from my high school, every year she goes on a month long walk through the state of Oregon, you know, in the mountains,
Wow.
backpacking. Yeah, no, it's incredible. She's about Jan's size, but she's got a heart like a lion, and she's a maven in business as well. But we all get together and we just enjoy each other's company. And I really can feel other people, wishing for each other in these conversations. Yeah, that's great. Keep going. Yeah, that's really cool. Tell us more about that. And it's an extension of family as far as I'm concerned. We all regard each other and through the miracle of Facebook, really. And you folks are probably we're connected because of LinkedIn, I would imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not quite as cool as Facebook in terms of having family like that. But again, the three of you are pretty much family at this point too. I get that.
Yes.
So, that taking the risk with somebody new that I'd say something that would just tick them off, and not knowing necessarily what to do about that. Um, that's where the risk was for me. It was easy to be likable and walk away. It wasn't easy for me to really give a damn about what their problems were.
Hmm.
And I had to train myself to really care. And then when I did care, can't turn it off. I fall in love with the people who wash the dishes at the places where we go and get dinner. They're all friends, and it breaks my heart when somebody leaves and goes back to China, or somebody leaves and goes to another place and all that. But see, that's the risk, is living a life that's got that much love in it. While I'm loving, I'm not thinking about the future grief, but I mean, that's just what we sign up for if we're really going to give a good rap.
Bill, I just want to comment on that because as you were at the beginning, when we talked about language and communication and everything like that, my first reaction was, but then there's the language of universal love, or the language which is the unspoken.
Yep.
Which I think if you can go into conversations like that with, this idea of, and everybody spoke about it today in this conversation, of being open and looking at each person, as a human being with all the, beautifully human, like that kind of beautifully humanly imperfect, but beautiful, like beautifully imperfect, but perfect.
Yeah.
Then that's where it comes from. And I thought to myself, and what all the language we all speak is universal love. Like that's really what everyone speaks.
Yeah, and many of us have different love languages, don't we?
It does. It do. What came to mind while you were saying that? Have you ever had a conversation with somebody that's maybe a waitress, or somebody that you met at the bus stop? Somebody simply having a conversation with someone in the queue while you're standing in the queue for the bank. Like sometimes it's not people that you know or meet in the online space or in networking meetings. Sometimes the simplest conversations are ones that you have with complete strangers that are the nicest conversations that you're like, I would love to meet that person again, but you never do. But just their presence and what you learn from it, and just the warmth of their conversation, you keep it with you for the longest time.
Yep, and I take away presents from that too. Exactly. And Jan can tell you to a fault, I am embarrassed the people that I'm with by how I have to stop and talk to every person we walk by. And oh, you're from Romania? How long have you been in Harlem? And what do you do over here? Do you like this food? Is this kind of the same food that you get in Romania? And are you going to be here next year? Like, where are you going? What's up? I know my whole family is like, there's dad being dad again, and but, I'm willing to fall in love with every person I meet. I love you all. I just haven't met many of you yet. There's 8 billion and I only have, I don't know, maybe 12 or 13,000 friends, I got to get busy here. But I love you saying that because it just called out from me. That's my way of being. I am interested genuinely in what, I don't care who you are. I don't care if it's hard for you to speak the language. I listen better to people who I have to really understand what they're saying. One of my best friends is a Frenchman, and he speaks better English now than he used to, but I still have to listen to him carefully because his accent is very thick. He's Parisian French, by the way.
Mhm.
So thank you for bringing that up, because be willing to have more friends, tonight than you have this morning getting out of bed. That's a cool thing to do, in my humble opinion.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And we all have something to give. And that thing, Jan knows this, is that storytelling. We have a story to tell. We have a gift to give someone that you don't know. They might have needed to hear that today. And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter who they are, giving them a compliment. Hey, how are you? That is a beautiful dress. Just kickstarts the conversation. And just with that person leaving with that smile, I actually receive happiness in my heart because we had a lovely conversation and they smiling and I'm feeling good because I just received while they smiling now. And I had a beautiful conversation with someone just as beautiful.
It's interesting too when that doesn't get the desired result. When you pay somebody a compliment, and where they are in the world is they can't receive it. They have to say, "Oh, no, it's not that. It's this old thing, whatever." Maybe you and I do that a little bit too sometimes, but there's a lot of generosity in just receiving a compliment from somebody. And it may be different in South Africa because I haven't been there. I will, but
You need to come this side. We are one of the most friendliest countries in the world. We
yeah,
love people. We love welcoming people into South Africa, sharing our homes, experiences, and having conversations like these. We
yeah,
love it.
yeah. And I love that you love it too, because I think we need more of that in the world, not less. Yes, exactly. And we need to disagree, with the understanding that the disagreement means we don't have the same information. Let's keep going here, and let's give it understanding a shot. Let's see if we can make each other understand. You have to really love somebody to listen to them on some subjects. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
How's it going up there in Canada? Eh?
Hey?
Yeah. And you do have a Canadian accent, by the way, Mary Jane.
Oh, thank you.
But it's a nice accent. But you do have one.
Boot and a boot. Yeah.
The boots, yes.
Yeah, boots. Um,
Yeah,
I
I love that. Anyways, I love what you were sharing, Bill, and Taryn as well.
Yeah.
And I was thinking of this idea of stories because I think that if you can get someone, basically when they talk about themselves, they're telling you a story.
Mhm.
And I think that's what we remember anyway. Mary Jane and I did our audio event on Friday, and we have this lovely woman get on, and I don't know where she was from, but she was talking about her father who had been an architect. We were talking about journaling and using pencil and paper, and she was talking about the fact that she has to use a number 2 pencil when she journals. And
Very
being
specific.
from the States, that's very funny because every standardized test we ever take in school or afterwards, like every form, has to be done with a number 2 pencil. So everybody in the audience started to I just snickered because I was like, oh my gosh, a number 2 pencil. And she was talking about she probably got it from her father, who was an architect. And so he always used a pencil, and that was how and I was saying that my father was an engineer and always used a mechanical pencil, like the first mechanical pencils with a little sharpener in the end.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I know this woman. I don't know this woman at all. It was the first time on our audio event, but I tell you, I will remember her for the rest of my life because I remember that story and it made me smile. It just gave me such joy. Like we bonded over our dads using pencils, and I thought it was such a beautiful experience, like to share that with her. And now I shared it with my mom, and my mom started to giggle because she was like, oh my gosh, daddy and his pocket protectors, because he was an engineer, like.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
The nerds and geeks of my day just had blue stains on their shirt pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All pens leaked back in those days, you know?
Oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes.
So we're coming up on the holidays, and I'm kind of curious your perspectives, from around the globe. What does that look like for y'all? Like bringing it up, now we're silent. Okay.
Okay, well, here in South Africa, we embrace the festive season, like the malls, have got Christmas decorations and everything up. But personally, from my family perspective, Christmas, the holidays or Christmas Day, we go to church and then go and have lunch with family or friends. We love having braais here in South Africa, which I think in the States you call barbecue. We love having braais. We go outside because it's summer here in South Africa, so we'll go outside.
I- Is that
We'll
Braise? Bryce?
Braai, braai. So
AAI. Right. Okay.
yeah, so we'll
Thank you.
go and the men will do their thing there, busy braaiing the meat, and us ladies will have the salads together, and we'll all just go outside and enjoy the weather, or even indoors. That's fine, indoors, and we'll all just be together, enjoying a meal, celebrating together. Whether you are family related or you are friends that have become family, whoever is family in your community, we all just come together and we just really celebrate time together with each other.
So I'm wondering, I went away for a minute. Is Bry an Afrikaner term? It sounds like another language.
So Braai is actually one of our 12 official languages, and
Oh,
Braai
okay.
is actually Afrikaans. So Afrikaans is one of our 12 official languages here in South
Right.
Africa. So there is no other translation. It's a braai, but the best way I can describe it is a barbecue.
Which the Aussies call a Barbie. Yeah.
There we go. There we go. So that's how we do. We really embrace it. Buy gifts, give each other gifts, make calls, call those that you haven't spoken to. We really embrace the time to just make sure we spend time with those that you don't see, or just get in touch with those. We were just celebrating each other and enjoying their time and resting, of course, over the period, welcoming in the new year as well.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And how
It's
about north of
me.
the border? Yes.
Well, I'm pretty sure that Canada and the U.S. have very similar traditions. Maybe we have a few that we've kept some. I mean, I know in my family we have some that, I mean, it's like many generations past emigrating from the United Kingdom, but still a few of the traditions have remained as far as that's concerned. So I just there's those things, doing some of those traditional things. And in my household we have a split observance. So my husband is Jewish and I am not Jewish. so um so we have, and this year we have the fortunate benefit of Christmas Day is both the start of Hanukkah and Christmas Day. So we get to celebrate both traditions together, both based on light and the observance of bringing light into the world, right? That's the gist of both. But yeah, just bringing those traditions. So I'm really excited because, we'll do our Christmas traditional things because we always host a Christmas dinner, with so doing some traditional, I guess, North American experience at Christmas dinners. But I've already put in my order to my mother-in-law that she needs to bring latke to Christmas dinner,
There you go.
because they're delicious.
There we go.
And you don't really need a reason, do you? Just bring the damn
No,
things, please.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I politely suggest to her that it's lovely that she makes them in her own home because there's nothing like the residual smell of cooking latkes.
Mass quantities, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Taryn poofed, but she'll be right back.
Um,
It's dark 30 over there in Johannesburg.
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I guess
Yeah.
I'll go, Bill, unless you want to go.
No, I'm all ears.
Okay. So I
Knock
guess
me alive, friend.
so I guess it's quite different for me coming from my background where Hanukkah is important, but it's very much, I mean, maybe it's the same, but it's very much a kid's holiday, Hanukkah.
Mm, yes.
So it's not, we celebrate, but I look at it as not as I want to say, it's not to me like, some people I know who celebrate Christmas and really that's really a, very large and celebratory time. I think I look at it much more as a contemplative time and how can I spread light? Like more than, that's how I look at it is like, who am I going to connect with? Who am I, what we always talk about, Bill, like, who am I going to just call and say, you're really important to me and you matter in my life and I'm happy you're in it and thank you for all you do. So I look at it as that kind of personal kind of celebration
Yes.
of, cultivating light in the world and what could I do better to cultivate light going into the new year, like because it's so close to New Year's, so December and January, so it's like that's what I look at it as. I do, my mom and I are very rarely together on Hanukkah. She's too far, so we light Hanukkah candles over the phone and we'll light menorah over the phone, and I give Tonka a Hanukkah gift. Just so you know, between you and me, I buy a really large bone and I take it away. And so, like, really large. And so I take it, like, I give it to him and then I take it away because it's huge and he can't eat it all in one night. And then I give him the same bone the next day for 8 nights.
For 8 nights.
Do you wrap it every time or just take it off the shelf?
So it's really funny because then he gets excited every time. He's like, oh, okay. It's a new, like, it's a bone. I have this bone. So it's really funny.
You know that saying, like a dog with a bone, it's not for nothing.
It's not for nothing. Exactly. But I think I look at the true meaning of what the season really meant. And, the fact that it was like, can we be a light in the world?
Yeah.
And so that's really how I tend to, even with as I work to be an introverted extrovert.
Join the ambivert side, Jan. It's okay. Join the ambivert.
And, I do, but I have that really deeply contemplative side. So I think I really reflect and kind of say, okay, well, how can I be better?
Yeah, I love that. And I also love the ambivert. I think it's like, can we all just be left-handed, right-handers for a little while,
That's exactly right.
Birds in one conversation. I love it.
That's right.
Yeah. Wait, I'm just picking up a whole new vocabulary here. I got to talk to internationals a lot more than I do. That's for sure. So, what time is it over there?
So it is now going on for 5 to 10 in the evening. So we're heading to 10 p.m. in South Africa. There is a 7-hour difference between us and you. Well, us and Jan.
You're a trooper, and I'll tell you what. My previous record was 6 hours, and a person from Paris, France. So, and 5 hours has been routine. 4 or 5 people from London. So,
I just broke that record.
Yes, you did. You killed it. Oh my goodness. I do have a real important question. This is burning, okay? Have you been to the top of Kilimanjaro?
How did you know? No, I haven't been, but it's on top of my bucket list. And I'm like, I did not tell anybody that. It is on top of my bucket list. I absolutely want to do it.
It's all over your face.
Amazing. That was like an affirmation.
I don't know how amazing it is. That's why I talk to people, because there's like a deeper connection,
Well, Bill, do you have anything on your bucket list? I'm curious about everybody's now.
Yeah.
Oh, bucket list. Yeah, I'll never finish my bucket list. To get to all of it, I'm going to have to live to be about 175 years old. So, no, I think really the most important thing for me, there's a few things, and some of it is around public speaking. And it's about, inviting people to really consider what a miraculous gift they are to the world. And I was in a conversation with a gal yesterday, and part of my bucket list is that when there is a clear and present opportunity to make a difference with another human being, that I'll step up to it and not shy away and keep giving what I can give, And I came up to a point and she was talking about how disgusted that she was with how, her life was going and what she was putting up with. And I said, you need to decide not to squander your life being who you are.
Yeah.
And she said, can you say that again? And I don't even know if that's what I said really, but that's what I'm remembering it would have been pretty much like. And she said, Bill, that just opens doors, This is all up to me, isn't it? And she said, I have been wallowing. So I'm telling you that little quick story, Taryn, because we all do like to tell stories. And the neat part of it is that she went on and she promised to call me back within an hour or so. I didn't hear from her. Late last night, get a text message from her. Bill, I just got so busy having the best evening ever. After talking with you, she says, it's all clear to me. I am having so much fun talking to clients and family and all that sort of thing. And I can't wait to talk to you tomorrow, Bill. And I said, I would like that very much. So I want to be able to reach a lot of people at the same time and just invite them to the possibility that their life is, and invite them to set down the heaviness that their life may be for them at the moment. And part of that is why Jan and I just completed a year-long effort working with about 28 other authors generating that new book on grief. I think the sky's the limit, in terms of where we can go from here. So my bucket list has a lot to do with a legacy to people I haven't met yet, and maybe a legacy to people who aren't born.
That is so incredible. So congratulations to both you and Jan on that book. I'm so
Thank you.
excited for you both. And just something that you touched on with the importance of conversation. You don't know what that next person needs to hear. That's why having being so open to that conversation. It's just like you mentioned Kilimanjaro. I never mentioned anyone, but that's like been my dream for years, and I'm going to do it. And sometimes we don't know it, but we're used to just let that person know that they're on the right path, or give them that little bit of hope, or maybe they're just in a space where they don't think anyone's getting them, and then the next minute you just have a conversation in the clothing aisle, and you just open up, and it really is just time and a conversation that can really change a person's life or help them to find the direction that they might have just wavered off their path.
Yeah. And full disclosure, I didn't read your mind. It was just what was present here for me, And with that being the case, I learned to trust that with people. And sometimes, it creates a bit of a dark moment in the conversation while they're deciding whether or not they trust me enough to really tell me what's going on. Because 9 out of 10 times, I'm not missing the mark by very much. But the point is that once they do, it opens up so much. It creates a world of possibilities, not the next possibility, but it's not an either or situation. It's like, this is a feast. Go and have a ball, and just be willing to fall down a lot. Okay. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. We got you. You just keep going. Okay.
Yeah, it's so true. I think we also, Jen and Mary Jane, I don't know about you, but the fear of judgment, the fear of what others are going to say. How many dreams have been stopped or not pursued because of the comment from one negative person? It doesn't matter. It's your life. At the end of the day, they're not going to. I actually said this to my mom the other day. If it doesn't matter in 5 years, why give it 5 minutes? So spend the time on what matters. Don't worry about the next person, because you don't know what they're going through.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I used to tell my employees 100 years from now, nobody's going to remember this. So get after it.
Yeah.
What I really appreciate is between the four of us, we have a reach. We have an audience, and we have a listening. There's a powerful listening for all of us when we walk into a room and we look at a bunch of people and we smile. And then I don't know about you, but I look out there and I have nothing prepared to say. I just look to see, what do you need from me right now? I'm willing to get it wrong for two and three sentences. Let's see if we can get into something that we can really have some fun with. And that's this podcast. I mean, it really is. You both have been absolutely terrific, given your time and everything. Is there something else that you'd kind of like to say, or a message that you'd like to leave the listeners, before we check out here? Either Taryn or Mary Jane. I know you'll have the last word today, Jan.
Mary Jane, I've spoken a lot. I'm going to let you go first.
I think for me, I guess it was, we were talking about bucket list. So for me, it's not just bucket list. For me, there's many things on my bucket list, but I liked, Bill, what you were speaking to about legacy. And in life, I've had many people, my story is that many people say, you're too sensitive, or you're too kind, or well, okay. It's like, because I've learned to recognize that the more that people are trying to squash that in me, that's really my superpower. So my legacy that I'd like to leave this world is leading always with kindness, empathy, and compassion. And that's in everything that I do. Clients, interactions, just in general. Kindness, empathy, and compassion.
If you can do that, you'll never be wrong.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I can tell you, Mary Jane, just from my interactions with you, you are doing that.
Thank you.
You are doing that. For me, what I would like to share is, for the listeners listening, listen to others, hear others, because just by listening and letting others share their story, sometimes just as much as telling a story, listening to somebody's story can make a difference. Don't let anybody dim your light. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. I'm sitting here with three amazing people from all the way from the other side of the world, and we're having the best conversation ever. Like Jan always says, spread the light. You have a light inside of you. You have a voice. You have a story to tell. You have a life to live. Live it. Don't make yourself small for anyone. Open your heart. Be kind. Share love. Have conversations. And just smile and know that you are loved and you are here for a purpose. Let no one stop you. You have one life. Live it. Go for what you want and never give up.
A brilliant message. Thank you.
So I'm going to have the last word, huh, Bill? So
well, let me go first, okay?
What?
Let me go first before you have the last word.
Oh, sure.
So what I want to say is that we say this a lot in our podcast, that we create from nothing. We just show up and we bring what we got, and we see what happens. And a successful hour for me is either having my memories leak out my eyes and come down my face, or getting goosebumps, or both, right? And I've done several of that today, which is really, really a successful life's experience for me. I want to feel being alive. I want more people that I know to have that trust in themselves, that it really won't matter. And no, not only won't it won't matter that it doesn't matter. Just get out there and live your lives and have a good time. And not to take anything away from what Taryn said, like she said, ditto. Okay. So I love every last one of you, and I always will, and you don't get a vote on it. Okay. Miss Jan.
Oh, thank you, Bill. And thank you all it was really beautiful. And I guess I'll close with two things, I guess. One is what I would like on my bucket list. And I think it all begins with us. I think that we have to know ourselves and begin to learn about ourselves. And we only get that through experiences, through interactions. Otherwise it's very one-sided. And so I feel like we really need to, don't be ashamed of your story. Don't run away from your story. I think because other people's reactions to your story is going to tell you a lot about what you experienced and what you lived, and maybe shed new light on that. And to me, your story is empowering. That's where your power comes from, is that story. And so when you listen to other people, you're empowering them when you hear their story. And so that's my goal for everybody, is that everybody should feel empowered. Like they should not be ashamed, and they should be empowered with who they are. And so that is really my sort of what I would like to leave as a legacy. And then as we always close, it's just today, this week, this month, get off and make sure someone in your life is, realizes how important they are, and tell them how grateful you are that they're in your life.
Amen. We are lighting the candle, a world that works. And thank you, ladies, for your partnership in this conversation. And thank you at home for listening. We wish for you the best Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever is your sport. It's the best one you've ever had. And thank you, ladies from all over the world.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
You've been listening to Lighting the Candle, a world that works, part of the Xvadio podcast network. You can catch every episode of Lighting the Candle, as well as the rest of the network, at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcasts app, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and wherever you find podcasts.